Good day and welcome to this first segment of this week's A Week at the Plot on Friday afternoon, and quite late Friday afternoon as well. I'm looking up at the clock, that hasn't been there for quite a long time. It must be about 5:30, 5:45, something like that. We've actually had a few days in Wales, so we've had a little break, which has been lovely. And I've come down today just to sort of reacquaint myself with the plot. And as soon as I was doing that, I realised that I hadn't done something before I went away. And pigeons, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But other things are fine. But yeah, as I've said before, the plot needs so much work. And hopefully with the September we've had and having been away right at the beginning of October, hopefully the rest of October I will be able to get on and start really sorting out the plot. I think I'll do a end of our growing year video as a standalone video, because even though our plot is pretty neglected, it has also produced well for us in certain areas. But anyway, before further ado, let me show you what I spied as soon as I arrived at the plot, or maybe 2 steps into arriving at the side of the plot. I'm now 2 steps into the path at the side of the plot, and I immediately noticed this and then this. So this, I did tie it in, but you can see I didn't tie it very well, so it needs to be re-straightened. And in some ways that's quite good, because there's very little damage at the top here, unlike here, and interestingly, look at this. This is our Nero di Toscana Portuguese cabbage cross, which I thought the pigeons didn't like. Well, certainly they like these. This one as well. And then if we come over here, Portuguese cabbage. Yeah, I didn't cover these. Rookie error. So that's sort of 57 years into my life of growing, and a rookie error. I should have fleeced them like these have been fleeced, or netted them rather with net, not with fleece, like these are netted, but I didn't. But I am noticing in there some are doing really well, but some are being sort of taken by snails as well, which is partly to do with the untidy paths here. But yeah, that I can cope with. This, which I can also cope with, is just disappointing, but completely my fault. I should have netted these before we went away. Now the good thing is there's still plenty of decent leaves to harvest. But the good thing is it looks as though October is not going to be too cold. So if I net these now, I expect the growth to really get going over the coming weeks here. So hopefully the damage from pigeons will just set the growth of this plant back 3 weeks. Fingers crossed anyway. As well as just coming down to check on the plot, I also came down to harvest. So I'm going to be harvesting some of this Marvel of 4 Seasons, Marvel de 4 Saisons. That one seems to be forming a heart, so I might harvest that whole thing, and that will keep us going for a few days. And then we'll sort of move on to harvesting these. But I think it's fair to say that lettuce this year has really been one of our success stories. The lettuce has done incredibly well. But yeah, look at that plot. So much to do, so much to do. But that's okay, And what I've also noticed is that the blueberries are really starting to change colour in the leaf. Look at that. And as I'm close up and personal with it, I also notice that there's plenty of weeds that need to come out. Yeah, so I'm going to have to do that tomorrow as well. I think it's partly down to this grass down here which has come through the base. So yeah, maybe I need to rethink the base of these and put plastic on the base of these containers. I mean underneath here, so that things can't get in. But you know what, it's largely down to the year we've had and the neglect the plot has had. What I'm happy to see up here, I took some marjoram. I took actually 5 marjoram. They were self-seeded marjoram, and I put 5 in here, and it looks as though 3 have gone but 2 are surviving well. I know we've got some other marjoram seedlings elsewhere, so I'll replace this one, and this one here. But that can be for tomorrow. I'm not sure if you remember that we repotted these roses maybe about, what was it, 6 weeks ago. They've been in really small pots, and boy are they loving the extra root space in the pots. What I will do is weed these, pull all the weeds out. I'll do that tomorrow rather than today because I'm not got a long time down here today. But yeah, these are just, look at that growth. They're really loving the extra root space, but also of course the extra nutrients in that fresh compost. Loving it. So I'm really pleased to see that, because of course what that means is that I can keep some of these in pots and just enlarge the pot year on year for when we do eventually move home. Yeah, very happy to see how well these roses are doing. Absolute rookie error on not netting those brassicas, but hey ho, the pigeons have enjoyed them, I'm sure. Well, at least I hope they have. It looks as though they have. It's now 6:15. We've had quite a lot of padlock gate over the last 3 or 4 weeks, with a padlock being put on, a new padlock being put on a good few months ago, but the padlock seems to have worn, or keys have worn quite swiftly, so some people haven't been able to get in or out, which of course is a major issue. You don't want to be locked in at night. We've got chicken people here who are here quite late, so you don't want to be locked out, and you also don't want to be locked in. Today one of the tenants here has found a lock that fits all of our keys, that actually is an older lock than the new one that we've got. It's the same, it fits the key, so it's the same lock, but older, and actually it seems to be working fine. So he has, with the charity this afternoon, taken off the new lock that we've got and put on a new old lock, which seems to be working. But yeah, it's quite funny. It only got back at 4:30 this afternoon and already dealt with locks, already walked around with that tenant who did the padlock, looking at trees that we're going to be working on over the winter. We've also looked at compost that we are looking at getting for a certain area here. So yeah, I've been down here for maybe an hour and a half now, and I'm fully back into the allotment and the allotment society here and the community that we have. So yeah, it's been rather lovely actually. And the same tenant So I don't know how much that weighs. I don't really know. It's really heavy, and he said there's another bag like that if we want it. And also they've got some red onions. Their red onions did really well. And of course we didn't do onions and garlic because of A, white rot, and B, the sort of thought of moving. And on garlic I'll bring you up to date with that another day. Right, I'm going to go. A very discombobulated and mixed start of a week at the plot, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I will see you again very soon. I think will be tomorrow. Bye. Good day. I've given the paths a cursory strim and an initial rake. I'll see if I can give them another strim maybe in a week's time. I don't think that will be the final strim of the year. And then what I've also been doing is removing any blighted tomatoes by hand from here, and I'll be taking out the frames and the tomato plants very soon. And any fruits that have dropped I've been picking up and putting in here as well, because what I don't want to happen next year is any of those blighted fruits whose seeds might remain in the soil and still be viable next year. I don't want those to germinate, because of course if they're blighted seeds then they're likely to be quickly or swiftly blighted tomatoes once the blight comes along. And that's exactly what I'm going to do over there with those tomatoes as well. And I'm doing it by hand rather than my gloves, because of course I don't want blight on my gloves. And even though I wash my gloves every, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks or something, I'm doing it by hand because I can just go to the trough here and wash my hands with some soap and water. So yeah, doing it by hand rather than doing it with gloves, that's the best plan of action, I think. And then all of these will be going into our home composting. So we get a waste food collection once a week, and all of this is going to go into that, because I certainly don't want to compost any of this because of the reason I've just given for the seeds. I've just noticed, I'm not sure if you can see here, I think that's a little bean trying to germinate, a rock and core. Well, it has germinated. I'm not sure if you can see that. Yeah, so that's obviously a bean that has fallen, like here. That's a runner there. But this a rock and core, because it's got a black casing, that has fallen and germinated. And there's another one there, look, coming up. You see that in there? I think we've got quite a mild October, but the first frost and they will go. That bed's now had a decent weed after clearing the tomato fruits and the tomato plants. I've decided I'm going to put the tomato plants into our home green waste, simply because I don't have that much room in compost bins which need to be emptied. So that's a job I think I'll be getting on with next week. And what I've done here is, after I've removed the plants and the fruits, I've gone in with a hand fork, levered the soil up, and then taken weeds by my other hand and then shaken the soil off the weeds. Because what you don't want to do, particularly with weeds that are perennial or ones that are like couch grass or something like that, is leave any of the root in, because that root can just proliferate. So even with sort of some grasses, if you just pull off the tuft of grass from the top of the soil, the roots can tear down below, and those roots can regenerate and give you further weeds. Let's just have a closer look at the cinquefoil that I've got here, which is the bane of my life. So this is cinquefoil. It's a relation of the strawberry. It's got 5 leaves, and just like the strawberry, it sends out runners. So what have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, potentially 12 new plants. And unlike strawberry runners, all of those will root. I've dug this one up, and you can see how the root is quite deep, and in fact that isn't the whole root. I would say there's a good 6 inches below where it's broken off here. It has, like the strawberry, a delicious flower, very pretty, but yeah, maybe you can see little roots, or you can definitely see them here, these roots coming off. Can you see there? Yeah, it is a horrible weed. Pretty flower, but horrible weed. I think over the coming weeks I'll be having a good think about the whole plot, because I think we're going to be here another year or 2 at least. So yeah, I'm going to have a real good think about it, including these lavenders that we have at the end here, because they're definitely harbouring beneath them cinquefoil, and there's bindweed there as well. And I know it's in this edge bed, which you can't see. The bed comes out to here. Yeah, neglected, as you can see. And I'm sort of thinking that what I might do is reposition these lavenders. And of course I still need to think about what I'm going to do with this area here. But you know what, that can wait for another day. And what's also going to wait for another day is all of these. Because what I do want to do is empty this perennial weed bin. Yep, I'll do that another day. Just to show what I say is largely what I do. I found these marjoram which were growing in that bed, so I've taken them out and potted them into these 3 pots. These are the original 2 that survived. These are looking pretty healthy anyway, and are quite large, so hopefully they'll survive well. Fingers crossed. So that's another bed, or in that case 2, but sort of another bed, 2.4 metre by 1.2 metre sorted. So I'm pleased about that. I will be doing things like covering it in cardboard, but not today. As I got to the end of that weeding, I was beginning to wane a little, and some advice is, when you do get to a job and you feel that you're waning, then maybe give up, because you're likely not to do as good a job on that last bit once you're waning than you will have done at the beginning. I was just on that cusp of waning and thought, oh, I'll just do another couple of feet and I'll be okay. But if I was going to be having to do another third of the bed, I'd have left it for tomorrow, because I knew my energy was beginning to fall. So that's it for this week's A Week at the Plot. As I was doing that work, I heard some cracking, and the tenant that I spoke to about trees yesterday is doing some tree work. So I'm going to go over and see how he's getting on and see if he does want any help. If he did want help, he would have asked for help, I know. And the same tenant who gave us the potatoes yesterday has given us 12, 14 rather lovely red onions, which is fabulous. So there we are. Right, I am going to leave it there. I haven't strimmed the other side of the plot. I'm just going to strim that before I go. Yeah, that's it for this week's A Week at the Plot. Again, thank you to everyone for your condolences about Mum. It's definitely a sort of new era with not having a parent to phone for gardening advice. But yeah, that's often the way it goes, isn't it? Anyway, look, whatever is happening in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, I hope it is going well. And if you're having a bit of a lovely spell of summer like we are, enjoy it. If you're plunging into cold, make sure that you have everything harvested that you can, and that your beds are put down for winter. So yeah, get that winter prep done. Anyway, yes, I'm going to go. See you very soon. Happy growing. Bye.